are too.
Very good, Matthew.
Okay. Now we talk about Grandpa and your printing.
Okay, I took printing in like I say, in a technical school. And then, when I left the technical school, I went to work on the railroad, because my father worked on the railroad. I was 18 years old, and I went to work on the Pennsylvania Railroad. And I stayed on the railroad for almost 8 years. And I had to, like in the wintertime, when the lake would freeze over, they used to bring the iron ore from Duluth, Minnesota, and a lot of grain trains down the lakes. But in the wintertime, when the lake froze over, the ships couldn't come down. So a lot of the people that didn't have the seniority got laid off, either that or they had to go down in the mountains of Pennsylvania and work in shipping, changing cars in the coal mines and the strip mines, and there's a lot of brick factories and glass factories down there. And it was very, very cold and a lot of snow down in the mountains. And that's where I met your grandmother in the hospital, because in the wintertime that's when I went to work at the hospital. Because there was nothing else to do, because I didn't have enough seniority to work there. So that's what I did part-time, so we would have some income. And I left the railroad in, I can't remember. But anyhow, I started out as a brakeman on the road, which you had a division that went from Erie, Pennsylvania down to a small town in the middle of the state called Renova. That was 198 miles. That was your division. You couldn't go beyond that. And I used to have to stay overnight and come back, you know, and I was gone for a long time because you could only work 12 hours a day. They wouldn't let you work any longer than that. So I stayed there, and I was a brakeman. I took the test and I became a flagman on freight. This was on freight now, not on passenger. And then I took the test to become a conductor on freight. And I took that and I passed it when I was 21 years old. I was the youngest conductor that the Pennsylvania Railroad ever had.
Wow.
The Pennsylvania Railroad is no longer here. It's gone. And that's what I did back then. And then from there, we decided that it got so cold. I said, her mother and father moved down to Florida, moved down to Miami. So we decided to sell our house and move to Florida. That was back in 1956. We came down to Miami. And then I went back into my trade. When I got to Florida, I went back into the printing trade. And I stayed with it until I retired, which was about 10 years ago. I would say 10 years ago I retired.
Yeah.
Longer than that? I can't remember.
Can't remember anything.
So that was my trade. I worked at I worked mostly in supervisory and presses, and I did everything in the printing business. I worked in Miami, I worked for the largest classical music publisher in the world. It was known as Kalmus Music, and that's all they did was classical music. And I was the assistant foreman running that big shop. And then from there, I went to the University of Miami. And I took over the print shop at the University of Miami. I stayed there for a while, and I seen that I knew that they were having a few problems with it. So I left the University of Miami and bought a piece of property in Naples, Florida. And I was going back and forth on the weekends, and it wasn't 6 months later that they did close down the print shop at the University of Miami after I left there. And then we moved over here to Naples.
There you go. Okay, what would you change about it?
Oh, Sean,
What?
that's a loaded question.
Well, you can
What
say
would I
nothing and
change
tell me
about my
nothing.
life?
And tell me why nothing.
What would I change it? I really wouldn't change anything,
Okay, what's that?
no. Because I'm happy the way my life is. I'm happy with my kids, I'm happy with all my grandkids, happy
And
with my
great
great-grandkids.
You know,
And
she didn't
I'm
mention
happy
me.
with, no, I'm not mentioning you one little bit. And I'm just happy with, I was in nursing from the time I graduated till I retired. And I really wouldn't have retired then, except that it wasn't nursing anymore. It just got to be
Oh, computer.
all computer, and a nurse wasn't a nurse. You didn't do any much hands-on with care with people. It just got to be all book and writing and all that stuff, and that isn't what I got to be a nurse for. And so I finally retired, but I'm really satisfied with my life. I really don't think I'd change much of anything at all. Because what happened, like I say, it's a loaded question. I don't know how things would turn out if I did anything different than what I did. It might have turned out a lot, could have turned out really, really bad if I'd taken another road someplace, because I
You
am
told your twin you
satisfied.
wanted to be a school teacher.
True, but I would have been happy as a teacher too, because, my twin, she quit nursing after 6 months, so I was in nursing by myself anyhow. But it was fun. If I had it to do over again, have the same teachers and everything in nursing, I would go back. I wouldn't mind going back and doing that all over again. Had a lot of fun, hard work, and nursing is doing any kind of nursing is a hard work. And I just enjoyed it. And I didn't think I was ever going to retire, but I got to be not nursing anymore, so it wasn't fun anymore. So that's when I retired.
Okay, Grandpa. What would you change about it?
I don't think I would change anything about it. I'm very happy with what I did. I did make some changes in my life, like going from the railroad to back to my trade, and everything worked out fine for me, and with the kids and everything, and I love it. We have I think we have 9 grandkids now. We have 3 great grandkids, and they're all super. We get to see them. They come to visit us because they're close by in Miami and Tallahassee, and one here in Naples, and one boy in Tampa, and one boy who retired from the Navy who was in Memphis, Tennessee. So, I wouldn't change anything. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. If I could do it, and my health would permit me to, I would go back on a farm tomorrow. I loved farming. I enjoyed it so much. It did a lot for me. It taught me an awful lot by being on a farm. I would do that tomorrow if I could do it.
Okay. What advice would you give young people today, and why?
What advice would I give young people today? Stay with your family.
Yeah.
Your family's the only part of life that you can really count and depend on. When you get older, your friends move and go away, but your mom and dad and No matter what happens with their life, your mom and dad is always there. And your brothers and sisters are always there. And friends, like I said, they move away and they're gone. And you think, well, you can go back 2 or 3 years and see them and visit them, but it's all changed in difference because they've got a new life already again. And you have your life, so your connections aren't the same as they were when you were close. But your family is always there. As far as at least our family is always here. And like I say, the door is there. Most of our kids have a key. I know your dad don't, but if I know he's coming, I'll stick one out there for him. Under my lion lamp. And it's like I say, you get all you kids, any of them, even the grandkids, they can always come here. They'll always be welcome. And you can't say that for your friends because you don't know. Maybe tomorrow your friends will say, I don't want you anymore. But I know with our family, I think our family's pretty close.
Yes. Yeah, and your friends too, you know, you have friends, and we have an awful lot of them. But they, you know, especially when you get up around our age, they move, they go to different places and stuff, and, you know, and you get up around our age, some of your friends die, and, you know, but your family is always there. Just like I said, your grandmother and I, now we belong to a small golfing country club, and we play there, you know, and we've got an awful lot of friends there, but still our family is the most important.
Okay. Okay, what are some stories you remember about Dad?
Pardon me?
These are my questions. What are some things or stories you remember about Dad?
About your father?
Yeah, about my dad.
Oh, he was so cute, John. Big freckles, great big blue eyes.
Matt.
When he went to school, started school down here in Miami, his grandfather gave him a kind of like a suit coat, suit jacket. Wow. He wore that jacket to school, and 90-degree heat over in Miami going to school, he had to wear that jacket to school. He couldn't go to school without it. One day first day I walked him up to school. After that he said, no more, don't come with me, no more. I can do it by myself, and he did too. And very smart. Just cute. What can a mother say? I mean, come on. All inside himself. You didn't know too much what was going on inside of him. He never complained about anything. And he did his best. He always did his best. I think I still love him.
Good answer. Okay.
Oh, I remember his first little funny cigarette. Found this little thing on the floor. I'm walking in the door and I had it in my hand. I put it on top of the refrigerator. I didn't even know for sure what they were. I was walking in the door and, come here, Pat, I want you to tell me, I want to give you something. Walk over and I open my hand up and here's this little cigarette with the ends curled. I thought he was going to faint. But that's the only thing it's things kids do. I never held it against them.
Oh, which time in your life did you enjoy the most?
Oh, wow. which time of my life? Well, I got more than one time. I enjoyed it when, because I had the first 3 children right close together. I enjoyed it when they were really small all together. They were like 1, 2, and 3. I enjoyed being home with them because I didn't work. And we had a lot of fun together. And then 16 years later, I had the other 2 children. And the 3 older kids and I and Grandpa too, we had a lot of fun with the 2 youngest ones. So we really had 2 times in our life when we had very small children.
It was like having 2
And
families.
it was, I think that was the most fun.
Yeah.
When the kids were really small, before they went to school and everybody, after they started going to school, it was like hectic. Because schools started changing so bad. They'd come home and want help, and we couldn't help them because they weren't learning the same way that you were. And now it's even worse because we're trying to help a granddaughter, and it's even worse trying to help her because her way of learning is even different from what their way was.
What we were used to.
But I think that's the best part, was with the kids.
Hey, Grandpa, yours was the same?
Yeah, it's the same. It was like having 2 families, you know, and the kids, in other words, we had small kids most of the time, except, you know, now they're all growing up, and it was like having 2 separate families, but they were all the same, and you know, it was something different. I really enjoyed it. And of course now we have all of the grandkids and the great-grandkids and everything from the family. It's a wonderful family. Me and Grandma have a lot of fun with all of the kids and the grandkids. It's great.
Now that you're older, do you see more of your parents in yourselves?
Now that I'm older, do I see
Yeah, more of your parents in yourselves.
more than Sean? I'm going to be 75 years old. My mother died when she was 68, which was how long ago? Long time ago. And that was when Jeffrey was born, 1965. My father died when maybe 5 years later. And so it's been a long time, you know, but we used to see a lot of my father and my mother both, because they lived in Miami and so did we, but we
Right.
saw a lot of them when they were alive. But,
Spent a lot of time with them.
it's been a long time since they died.
You don't see any of yourself in them? But you don't see any of them in yourself?
I didn't understand your question. What do
Oh,
I
sorry.
see of, you mean, what do I see of myself?
What do you see, now that you're older, do you see more of their characteristics or traits in yourself?
Do I see? No, I don't think so, because I'm my own person. I don't want to be like my mother or my father, you know? And I never did, you know, even when I grow up, it's like I said, you know, when my mother died, my mother was a very good person, and she's, you know, in everything, and what she taught me and everything it's good. I don't want to be them. I just want to be me. So I don't know what back then people didn't talk about their philosophies in life or anything, so I really don't know what their philosophies were, except maybe my mother was always truthful and helpful, and she never had a bad word to say about anybody. My father worked really, really hard because he had all these kids anyhow, he had to. And they were always helpful for us, so, you know, but I really can't see any traits in me that were like my mom and dad when they got older. I don't think so. Maybe other people do.
Okay, Grandpa, what about you?
Well, I don't see anything, not really. I'm just like your grandmother, you know, we lived their own lives and we didn't see, I didn't see my mother and father as much as we did your grandmother's mother and father, because they were so far away. They were, you know, 1,500 miles away from us, and they could come down once in a while.
He needs a treat.
Oh, no, I don't have any traits. I can't see it, no, not really.
Do you see any of you two traits in any of your kids?
One kid.
I asked some
No,
good questions.
no, I don't think so.
No?
Traits.
Yeah, like characteristics.
Well, once you know a Hogan, it's a Hogan. You know? I mean, a Hogan is a Hogan. You can see him walking backwards and you know it's, see him from behind and you know it's a Hogan. But I think they all grow up to get their, kids grow up and everybody has their own personality there, and it doesn't matter what you believe in, you make your own beliefs, and I think that they have their own beliefs. Like you aren't, when you grow up, you aren't going to have the same beliefs and or traits that your father or your mother have. You know, you develop your own because from your environment and from the way you grow up, from your peers, from the schooling you've had, and everything. So I really don't. I really, you know, I think the kids are all, they're different. And I say, once a Hogan, always a Hogan, but it's, they're all different.
Okay, Grandpa?
Yeah, well, each one of them has their own way that they do things, you know, and I agree with Grandma that, you know, each one is an individual. They go about their way. We do not pry into their business, and we don't, you know, have anything, I don't know how to say it. I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it. But they're all individual. They're on their own.
What do you like most and least about retirement?
What do I like most about retirement? Well, John, it's really, for me, it's really not retirement. The only thing different with me is I've just lost one job. I still have the other job. That's the cleaning, the washing, the dishes, the sweeping, the grocery shopping, the checking, grandkids to take care of, great-grandkids to take care of. I still babysit. What else? I listen to all my kids' troubles. I give them my opinion. If they take it, that's okay, and if they don't, that's okay too. I still love them. But it's just like I said, I don't see much different, except I get more time for myself. I golf and I think that time that I spent working is I get more extra time to do fun things.
Now that you're retired, you do a lot of things that you couldn't do before. You know, like me, I used to do a lot of fishing. But of course, now that I've gotten older, I can't fish as much as I used to, but I play a lot of golf. I enjoy it. And we live in this place here, and there's not that much. It's a small place. There's not that much for you to do around here. So we find different things to do. We like to, Graham and I like to go out and have lunch quite a bit. And
Yeah, I was just going to say we'd like to go out and eat.
yeah,
Grandma doesn't have to cook.
Yeah, so Grandma doesn't have to cook. So it makes it much easier on us. I play golf as much as I can. It gets me out of the house. It gets me to meet people and play with the people. And it keeps her happy that I'm gone most of the time.
Yeah. I'll buy that.
Okay, what do you like more about the world today than you did when you were growing up?
What do I like about the world today? Okay. There's closer communication. It doesn't, you don't have to wait for a week to get a letter in the mail to find out if somebody's sick or well or had a baby, you know. I mean, with computer, like within minutes or the same time. And travel, you can go wherever you want by plane or however faster. But I don't know if it's any better because I liked walking when I was younger. I didn't mind, wherever you had to go, you walked, if you know, and maybe kept you more healthy than it does now. The changes, I don't know if I really care for the changes. I think the world would be better if we were back not so knowledgeable. But I love the knowledge that we have of the space and all those things, because I can remember back when I was like 20 years old, and I would think, gosh, I wonder what the world's going to be like in 20,000, you know, or 2000, year 2000. Well, here it is 2000, and I'm still here, and I know what the world's like, right? And it's, you wonder what's going to happen. A lot of things has happened, but I think I liked my childhood. I think I liked growing up back when things were simpler, weren't so complicated. And they say that life was hard back then. But I think life is harder now than it was back then, even though people didn't have the TVs or all the things they have now. I think life was simpler and easier, and I liked it back when I was growing up and back in those days. But it's nice to be here now. I'll stay here.
Okay.
I'm the same way. I mean, I enjoyed, you know, back when I was younger, and things weren't as complicated back then as they are now. You know, now everything is, I don't know, what would you say, industrialized and everything, and there's just seems to be like too many things going on. Back in the days when we were younger, there wasn't that much going on. You know, you stayed home, you didn't go that many places. Now you have transportation where if you want to drive over to Miami, I mean, you can be there in an hour and a half. And back in those days, you didn't do that because there was no place for you to go. You didn't go out and travel because everything was so far, and you didn't have the transportation or anything. I liked back in the old days. I like it now. I enjoy it, but I don't get too much involved in it. I watch the news and everything, but a lot of it, I like it. I'll stick around for a while. I gotta stick around and make it miserable for a few people yet.
Okay.
Me. What?
Okay, is there any profession or skill you wish you had learned?
Is there any profession or skill
You wish you had learned?
that I wished I had learned?
Being a school teacher.
Any profession or skill? Yeah, I wished that I had learned how to play the violin. I always wanted to play the violin, and but we just never had a violin. Of course, music now in schools is a big thing. Everybody you know, as an instrument that they're gonna learn how to play when they get in high school. But, I tried that when our kids were growing up, that if they wanted to play something in school, they got to do it, because I always really wanted to do that violin, and back then you just couldn't afford it, you know. You wanted to play an instrument, especially your father, he would say that it's, you know, no way. You've got other things to do than waste your time practicing. And so, I don't know what all. What was the other part of it? Any skill or
Yeah.
profession?
What
No,
is it?
I would be a nurse all over again,
So,
yeah.
Okay, what about you, Grandpa? Never mind. Are we running out of tape or something?